Hello and welcome to Rise and Advance. Today we will dive into the book The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F by Mark Manson. This book has become an international bestseller, and for a good reason. It's a fresh, counterintuitive approach to life. A book that provides a unique perspective on how to find meaning and happiness in a world where we're often told we need to be more, do more, and have more. Before going into details and analyzing the book chapters, first, we will take a quick view and understand what each chapter talks about and what message Mark Manson wants to deliver in this chapter. This strategy will let you know the book's entire content before diving into all its details. So, let's get started. Chapter 1, Don't Try. Chapter 1 of this book is about why we should stop trying so hard. The author explains that it's okay to fail, and we should embrace that we can't be good at everything. Instead, we should focus on what's truly important and put our energy into that. The message is: take a moment to evaluate what's truly important to you. What are your core values, and what matters most in your life? Once you know that, you can focus on those things and let go of the rest. Chapter 2, Happiness is a Problem. In Chapter 2, Mark Manson argues that happiness is not the end goal but rather a side effect of solving problems. He suggests embracing our struggles and challenges as they help us grow and improve. The message is: when faced with a difficult situation, ask yourself what you can learn from it. What new skills or knowledge can you gain? Embrace the challenge and use it to become a better version of yourself. Chapter 3, You Are Not Special. Chapter 3 is a reality check that we all need occasionally. Mark Manson reminds us that we are not unique and that we are all going to die someday. While that may sound bleak, he argues that accepting our mortality can help us live more fulfilling lives. The message is: don't take life too seriously. Remember that we are all human, and we all make mistakes. Take risks and embrace new experiences, knowing that failure is a natural process. Chapter 4, The Value of Suffering. In Chapter 4, the author explores the idea that suffering has value. He argues that the most meaningful moments in life often come from overcoming adversity, and that we shouldn't shy away from difficult situations. The message is: don't fear facing your fears or taking on new challenges. Embrace the struggle and know it's helping you grow stronger and more resilient. Chapter 5, You Are Always Choosing. In Chapter 5, Mark Manson reminds us that we are always choosing, whether we realize it or not. He argues that taking responsibility for our choices can help us take control of our lives and create a more fulfilling future. The message is: take a moment to reflect on your choices and how they impact your life. Are you making choices that align with your core values? If not, it might be time to make a change. Chapter 6, You're Wrong About Everything. But so am I. In Chapter 6, the author explores the idea that we're all wrong about something, and that's okay. He argues that we should embrace uncertainty and be open to new ideas and perspectives. The message is: don't be afraid to admit when you're wrong or to change your mind. Be open to new ideas and perspectives, and always be willing to learn. Chapter 7, Failure is the Way Forward. In Chapter 7, Mark Manson argues that failure is a natural part of the process and that making mistakes is okay. He suggests we should embrace failure and use it as an opportunity to learn and grow. The message is: Don't let the fear of failure keep you from pursuing your goals. Embrace failure as a natural part of the process and use it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Chapter 8: The Importance of Saying No. In Chapter 8, the author discusses the importance of saying no. He argues that we should prioritize our time and energy on the things that matter most to us, and saying no to things that don't align with our values is vital to living a more fulfilling life. The message is: learn to say no to things that don't align with your values or goals. Prioritize your time and energy on the things that matter most to you. Chapter 9: And Then You Die. In the book's final chapter, Mark Manson reminds us that we will all die someday. He argues that accepting our mortality can help us live more fulfilling lives and that we should make the most of our time. The message is: don't take life for granted. Embrace new experiences and make the most of the time you have. Remember that life is short and every moment is precious. Now let's dive deeper and analyze the contents of each chapter. Chapter 1: Don't Try. In this chapter, the author asks, what do you want out of life? He argues that many of us are constantly chasing success, happiness, and fulfillment, but that these things are often elusive. We're told that if we just work harder, try harder, and do more, we'll be able to achieve our goals and find happiness. However, Mark Manson suggests that this approach is flawed. He believes that the constant pursuit of success and happiness is actually making us miserable. We're putting pressure on ourselves to be perfect, to never fail, and to always be happy. This is a recipe for disaster because it's impossible to achieve. The author then introduces the idea of not giving a F. He explains that this doesn't mean we should stop caring about everything and become apathetic. Instead, it means we should stop caring about the things that don't truly matter to us. We should stop chasing something we think we're supposed to want and instead focus on what's truly important to us. Mark Manson argues that it's okay to fail, and we should embrace the fact that we can't be good at everything. Instead, we should focus on what's truly important to us and put our energy into that. When we stop trying to please everyone and do everything, we can focus on what matters and find happiness. The tip of this chapter is: take some time to reflect on what truly matters to you. What are your core values, and what do you want out of life? Once you know that, you can start focusing your energy on the things that matter and let go of the rest. Remember that failing is okay, and you don't have to be good at everything. When you stop trying to be perfect and focus on what matters, you'll find that happiness is much easier to achieve. Chapter 2: Happiness is a Problem. In Chapter 2, Mark Manson argues that the pursuit of happiness can actually make us more unhappy. He suggests that instead of chasing happiness, we should solve problems and find meaning in our lives. The author explains that happiness is not a destination but rather a side effect of solving problems. He argues that the struggles and challenges we face in life are what make us grow and improve as individuals. When we solve a complex issue, we feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, which can lead to a feeling of happiness. Manson also points out that many of the problems we face in life are good. For example, having to choose between two job offers is an excellent problem because it means we have options and opportunities. He suggests we should embrace these situations and view them as opportunities for growth and self-discovery. However, Manson also acknowledges that not all problems are good problems. Some issues are unavoidable, such as illness or the death of a loved one. In these situations, he suggests focusing on acceptance and finding meaning in the experience. Overall, Chapter 2 encourages us to embrace the struggles and challenges in our lives rather than trying to avoid them. By focusing on solving problems and finding meaning, we can achieve a more fulfilling sense of happiness. The tip of this chapter is: instead of focusing solely on pursuing happiness, focus on solving problems that align with your values and bring meaning to your life. Embrace the struggles and challenges that come with those problems and view them as opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Chapter 3: You Are Not Special. In Chapter 3, Mark Manson delivers a much-needed reality check. He argues that we are not as remarkable as we think we are and that we all have limitations. Manson suggests that accepting our mortality and limitations can actually help us live more fulfilling lives. Manson starts the chapter by pointing out that in today's world, we are often told that we are special and that we can achieve anything we want if we just believe in ourselves. However, this can lead to a dangerous sense of entitlement and unrealistic expectations. Manson reminds us that we will all die someday and that no one is immune to the realities of life. He then goes on to explain how accepting our mortality can actually help us live more fulfilling lives. By acknowledging that our time on Earth is limited, we can focus on what truly matters to us and make the most of our time. Manson argues that we should embrace our limitations and use them to our advantage rather than trying to be something we're not. Manson also discusses the concept of the ego, which he defines as our sense of self-importance. He argues that our ego can often get in the way of our happiness and that we should work to keep it in check. By letting go of our need to be special, we can focus on what truly matters and live a more fulfilling life. The tip of this chapter is: take some time to reflect on your own sense of self-importance. Are you constantly seeking validation from others or trying to prove yourself to the world? Try to let go of these expectations and focus on what truly matters to you. Embrace your limitations and use them to your advantage rather than trying to be something you're not. Accepting your mortality can help you live a more fulfilling life. Chapter 4: The Value of Suffering. In Chapter 4, Mark Manson dives deep into the concept of suffering and its value in our lives. He argues that we often try to avoid suffering at all costs. Still, in doing so, we miss out on some of life's most meaningful experiences. The author suggests that suffering is not necessarily a bad thing, and in fact, it can be quite valuable. He points out that some of the most beautiful works of art, music, and literature have been born out of suffering. He also notes that some of history's most inspiring and admirable people have faced immense challenges and setbacks. Manson argues that when we face difficult situations, we have two choices. We can either try to avoid the suffering or embrace it and use it as an opportunity to grow and learn. He suggests that by embracing suffering, we can become more resilient and develop a more profound sense of meaning and purpose in our lives. The tip of this chapter is: when faced with a difficult situation, don't try to avoid suffering. Instead, try to embrace it and use it as an opportunity to grow and learn. Ask yourself what you can learn from the experience and how to use it to become stronger and more resilient. Remember that some of life's most beautiful and meaningful experiences come from overcoming adversity. Chapter 5: You Are Always Choosing. In Chapter 5, Mark Manson dives into the idea that we are always choosing, whether we realize it or not. He argues that taking responsibility for our choices can help us take control of our lives and create a more fulfilling future. One of the key points that Manson emphasizes in this chapter is the importance of owning our choices, even if they don't always turn out the way we want them to. He argues that we can shift our mindset from victimhood to empowerment by accepting responsibility for our decisions. Manson suggests that every decision we make, even the small ones, has an impact on our lives. Whether we choose to hit snooze in the morning or get up and exercise, whether we choose to stay in a job we hate or take a leap of faith and start something new, each choice we make shapes our future. Another important aspect of this chapter is the idea that we have the power to change our choices. Manson reminds us that we're not locked into any one path and that we can always choose to make a different decision if we're not happy with the outcome of our previous one. He encourages us to take an active role in our lives and be intentional with our choices. The tip of this chapter is: take a moment to reflect on your choices and how they impact your life. Are you making choices that align with your core values and goals? If not, it might be time to make a change. Remember, you are in control of your life, and every decision you make has the power to shape your future. Chapter 6, You're Wrong About Everything, But So Am I. In this chapter, Mark Manson explores the idea that we're all wrong about something, and that's okay. He argues that we should embrace uncertainty and be open to new ideas and perspectives. Manson suggests that we often hold onto our beliefs too tightly, refusing to consider the possibility that we might be wrong. This can lead to conflict and closed-mindedness. Manson offers a few strategies for becoming more open-minded. 1. Embrace uncertainty. Accept that you don't have all the answers and that there may be multiple perspectives on any given issue. 2. Question your beliefs. Ask yourself why you believe what you believe. Are your thoughts based on evidence or just assumptions? 3. Seek out diverse perspectives. Read books and articles that challenge your beliefs, and engage with people who have different views. 4. Be willing to change your mind. Don't hold on to a belief just because you've always believed it. Be open to changing your mind if you encounter new evidence or arguments. Manson also notes that it's essential to recognize that everyone is wrong about something. No one has all the answers, and we can all learn from each other. Ultimately, Manson discusses that embracing uncertainty and open-mindedness can lead to a more fulfilling life. By being willing to consider new perspectives and ideas, we can continue to learn and grow throughout our lives. Chapter 7, Failure is the Way Forward. In Chapter 7, Mark Manson explores the idea that failure is not something to be feared but a necessary part of the journey toward success. He argues that it's through failure and mistakes that we learn and grow the most, and that we should embrace them as opportunities for growth. One of the key messages of this chapter is that success is not a destination but a journey. Manson argues that we often focus too much on the end goal and forget that the process of getting there is just as important. When we focus too much on the end result, we can become paralyzed by the fear of failure and never take the necessary risks to achieve our goals. Instead, Manson suggests that we should view failure as a stepping stone toward success. By embracing our mistakes and failures, we can learn from them and use them as motivation to keep moving forward. In fact, Manson goes as far as to say that failure is actually a prerequisite for success. But it's not just about embracing failure, it's also about developing a healthy relationship with it. Manson suggests that we should learn to detach our self-worth from our failures and instead view them as opportunities for growth. When we stop seeing failure as a reflection of our worth, we can approach it with a more evident, objective mindset. One way to do this is to reframe our failures as feedback. By viewing our mistakes as information about what we need to work on, we can use them to improve and get closer to our goals. Manson also emphasizes the importance of persistence in the face of failure. He argues that the most successful people are not the ones who never fail, but rather the ones who keep going in the face of adversity. When we approach failure as a necessary part of the journey, we can maintain the motivation and resilience needed to keep pushing forward. The tip of this chapter is: embrace failure as a necessary part of the journey toward success. View your mistakes and failures as opportunities for growth and learn to detach your self-worth from them. Reframe your failures as feedback and use them to improve. And most importantly, stay persistent in the face of adversity. Chapter 8: The Importance of Saying No. Chapter 8 is all about the power of saying no. Mark Manson argues that our time and energy are limited resources, and we must be careful about how we spend them. Saying no to things that don't align with our values or priorities can help us create more time and space for the things that do. In the chapter, the author talks about the fear of missing out, FOMO, and how it can lead us to say yes to things we don't want to do. He encourages readers to embrace the idea of JOMO, or the joy of missing out, and to prioritize their own well-being over the fear of missing out on something. Manson also discusses the concept of boundaries and how setting them can be an act of self-care. We can create a healthier and more fulfilling life by saying no to people or situations that drain our energy or violate our boundaries. The tip of this chapter is: take a look at your schedule and commitments. Are there things on your plate that you don't really want to do or don't align with your values? Practice saying no to those things and create more time and space for the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. Remember that it's okay to prioritize your own well-being and set boundaries to protect it. Chapter 9: And Then You Die. Chapter 9 is a sobering reminder that we all have limited time on this earth. Mark Manson argues that accepting our mortality can help us live more meaningfully. In this chapter, the author discusses the concept of memento mori, which is Latin for remember that you will die. He suggests that reflecting on our mortality can help us prioritize what's truly important in life. Manson also argues that our society often focuses on leaving a legacy or achieving immortality through our accomplishments. However, he suggests this is futile, as even the most famous and accomplished people eventually fade into obscurity. Instead, the author suggests that we should focus on living in the present moment and enjoying the time we have with loved ones. He argues that life's small, mundane moments are often the most meaningful and that we should savor them while we can. The tip of this chapter is: take a moment to reflect on your own mortality and your limited time on this earth. Use this awareness to prioritize what's truly important in your life and make the most of your time with loved ones. Remember that the small, everyday moments can often be the most meaningful, so savor them while you can. And that's a wrap for our summary of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F by Mark Manson. This book challenges many conventional wisdom about life and is worth reading. If you enjoyed this summary, Please like and subscribe to our channel for more book summaries and life tips. And share with us in the comments any thoughts or ideas and suggest any book worth summarizing in future videos. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.